Hello, good afternoon, everyone. What's happening? Evans. Sorry, Tito and the team, do you see me?
Yes, sir, we can see you and we can hear you clearly.
Okay, great. I think okay, maybe it's from my end. I just don't see the spotlight in here. Um, Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Techbiz. For this episode, this is the 109th episode of Techbiz, and it's a pleasure to have every one of you on the call once again. Thank you so much for keeping a date with us. Every last Thursday of the month, we try to come together to discuss the business of technology. And it's a pleasure to be bringing this again to you from the stable of Eco Innovation Center, an innovation and acceleration center located here in Awolowo, 50 Awolowo Road. With a mission to help provide the necessary handholding and support that startups need to be able to scale and commercialize their ventures. And Eco Innovation has done this over the years. And one of these platforms we use to do this is Techbiz, where we bring subject matter experts every Thursday to come to speak to us about different areas and different topics that are relevant to people in the ecosystems and to startup founders and tech enthusiasts. And we've dealt in the past 108 episodes about different topics, and we've spoken about different very crucial share very crucial information for startups that can help their journey and their growth along the way. And I mean, we've spoken things about how to use a business model canvas to structure your business. We've had sessions where we talked about how do you have a term sheet, how do you use the term sheets when you're talking about investment readiness, what are the things you need when you need to scale your business, what help do you need, how do you brand your business, and several other things, intellectual property protection for startups. These and many more are all the topics we've talked about in the last 108 different episodes of Techbiz that has been handled by different subject matter experts. And should you want to see any of this recording, feel free. My colleague has dropped the link in the chat room. All you have to do is go to www.ecoicenter/webinar, and you will be able to have access to 108 episodes of Techbiz on different topics, and it promises to be quite insightful. And again, after that, we do have a supporting community. There's a community where you also can be able to join the Techbiz Nation, which is a combination of a community of people, startups, people who want to be part of the Techbiz community, learn beyond just what we say on every Thursday, where we have enthusiasts in there, we have mentors, we have coaches, and quite a lot of information available. So if you want to be a part of this community that takes this learning experience and this support beyond just once a month, 1 hour engagement, feel free. I'm sure my colleague has dropped a link to the that takes you to the Techbiz Nation, where I and so many other subject matter experts are in that community and will provide the right support for startups and founders. And of course, today happens to be another exciting day. Every time I have to host and bring us Techbiz, I'm always excited because again, we're bringing something from the wealth of experience of so many subject matter experts globally to come share with us insights that can help us to be able to structure our businesses and grow our businesses better. And today is another exciting one where we're looking at unlocking startup potential. And I think this is quite important. What are the strategies for scaling and expansion? And there's no other time that this is more pertinent, where we see that most of the time, and we look at many of the startups, especially in different parts of Africa, we're dealing with necessity entrepreneurs that are struggling with scaling up, struggling with how to take their business to the next level and how to have business expansion. And this is what we will be talking about today. And we have a subject matter expert from East Africa that will be speaking to us. And again, arguably, you know, I'm sure along the line we'll have this conversation about the ecosystem in this country. It's coming all the way from Nairobi, Kenya, and Nigeria. Again, it would be nice to have that conversation about which of them is more exciting, which of them. But again, they've done tremendous work in the ecosystem, huge things around, financial inclusion and all that. And it's good to be learning from somebody who's been at the heat of the action. Our facilitator today, great person, is a global expansion advisor at Work and Play Foundation of Rommel Ventures. Okay. He is a problem solver who thrives on innovation and growth. And again, this is what Techbiz is about. I'm sure you know that's the core of what eco-innovation is about. It's about innovation, it's about growth, it's about scaling. And he excels in uncovering intricate details to craft solutions that addresses challenges or capitalize on new ones. On new opportunities. He's fueled by a strong passion for continuous learning, and he's got a diverse background in the startup ecosystem. And so we have somebody who is part and parcel of the system, who is thrived, who is skilled, and who will be speaking with us today. And he's gained very global experience from his work, where he's gained experience as both a founder, a sales consultant for various startups across EMEA and North American region. His professional journey has been characterized by constant exploration, learning, and the exploration of translating insights into tangible results. He possesses a deep understanding of business dynamics and adept navigates global challenges, having worked across diverse geographical locations. Of course, like I said, home country, Nairobi, he's worked in there. He's worked in Berlin, in Germany. He's worked in London, in England, and in the UK. And so he brings a very rich experience of what the startup ecosystem is across different geographical spread. He has an MBA from Nesford University. He has his first degree from Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology in Kenya. And to a large extent, is one, in my opinion, of the ecosystem leaders that we have today. He will be taking us through unlocking startup potential, strategy for scaling and driving expansion. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming Melvin Malanga as he comes to take us through, share his slides, and take us for the next 35 to 40 minutes about ways and strategies and means for which we can be able to scale our startups. Melvin, thank you for being on the platform this evening, and it's great to have you in here.
Thank you, Victor. I'm really humbled with the introduction. I can't say more because you really detailed in terms of introduction. Pleasure to be here. Happy to be here.
Thank you.
Ready to share and maybe to get to understand also more about your ecosystem.
Thank you very much, Melvin. You have the floor now. Thank you. I'll step aside while you take the floor.
No problem. Let me share my screen. Please let me know if you can see my screen before I continue. Can you be able to see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Yeah, so like Victor has mentioned, so my name is Melvin Malanga, and basically my background is in startups. I've been in the ecosystem of startups as both an operator and also as a founder for over the last 7 years. I've been in several markets. I've been in the European market, the North American market, and also the African market. And I have a vast experience as a person who has built a startup and also a person who has worked in startups, more specifically in sales. And today, the topic is really interesting, unlocking startup potential, strategies for scaling and driving expansion in Africa. And this is something that I really take it to heart because currently I'm working in 2 startups, one in which I'm a founder and one in which I work as an expansion advisor. So the one that I work as an expansion advisor is called WorkPay. And basically what we do is that we help companies to be able to expand into new markets, whereby we help them to be able to set up entities in new markets without being able to register an entity. That is something we'll talk about later. And also for my own startup that I founded called Rommel Ventures, we help companies to be able to scale their revenue, basically more specifically to do with sales. We'll touch more on it as we move forward with my presentation. Regarding unlocking startup potential, we're going to go through several things that we'll discuss today. So I'll just like to go through our agenda to let you know and understand what it's going to be about. So basically, we're going to see and understand how the ecosystem is currently. What are the new current trending topics or trending events or trending things that people are doing differently, and then also things to do with growth and also challenges that startups are facing currently. Then we'll go into the strategies of how to be able to scale. So we look into market research, we look into achieving product market fit, which is very important. We'll also look into accessing funding, talent acquisition, and also strategic partnerships. Which really makes sure that now as a startup, you don't just stand alone, but you're able to stand up with other startups in the ecosystem or other key players in the ecosystem to make sure that you are able to be able to operate well. And then the other thing, maybe later on, we'll be able to discuss things to do with the ecosystem itself, basically people who are helping in acceleration, so the government, incubators, and also the VCs. And then after that, we can be able to have our question and answer session, whereby I'll be able to answer several questions that you may be having. So just feel free. If you have any questions, you can put it on the chat. I think one of our moderators would be able to just ensure that I can be able to get any questions that you have as we move forward. So to jump in, I'd like to start by talking about the current situation with startups in Africa. So there's several things that are happening in the African setup and basically the global setup in terms of the new trends. I'd like to start by talking about what the startups have had. So in the last, I think 2 years, so late 2021 up to late 2023, we've been having something called the VC winter. And I'll talk about it later also when we talk about venture capital. But the VC winter is whereby there was little access to venture capital or to fund for startups in the global setup because of the trends that were happening. There was a war that was there was COVID, and this led to funding not being able to be accessed easily. This led up to several startups being closed down because they couldn't access funding, and other founders had to look for ways to adapt, because at the end of the day, that is why you're a startup. You need to be able to adapt to challenges that are coming in. The other thing that has come in that is trending currently is to do with the blockchain technology, which is really revolutionizing how things are being done, especially when it comes to fintech. I will also touch on it later. The other thing that is also interesting in terms of the current things that are happening is the green economy, or things to do with sustainability. So startups are also playing that role of where they want to make sure that we are also conserving our environment in as much as we are in here looking for profit, trying to change how things operate. It's very important also that we are able to understand that this is the only environment that we have. So it's very important we operate in a way that we're able to conserve that environment. The other thing that is happening right now is to do with collaboration in the system, whereby we have several key players that are coming in, and also locally and internationally, who are coming into the ecosystem to make sure that they're able to support startups to be able to build better. We'll also touch on that and get to see the types of ecosystems that you're having, and also who is able to help us. Now, in terms of the trends itself, there are four markets that are very big in Africa currently right now when it comes to startups, and they are strategically positioned depending on where you are. So in the Western African region, Nigeria is really standing out in terms of being a key player when it comes to startups. And then when it comes to the North Africa region, we have Egypt, and then the East African region, we have Kenya. Then in the Southern African area, we have South Africa as the big player there. And then regarding the growth trends and opportunities that are happening currently right now, we have a growing consumer market. This is due to the growth in population in Africa, and also due to increase in disposable income. So there's a lot of jobs, a lot of people who are getting a lot of money. Our middle class is growing, and basically that is leading up to our economies being better. And basically there's a growth opportunity for people who have great ideas that can be able to help people to solve their problems. So this is really helping in terms of making sure that we're able to grow better. The other thing that is helping is also increase in digital and mobile access. Right now, several countries have increased strategically. I'll talk about Rwanda for a minute, because in terms of access to mobile and also access to digital accessibility, it has been one of the countries that has really stood out, because in the last 3 years, they've been able to increase the accessibility to mobiles by around 60%, which is really a game changer. Imagine if you're a startup in Rwanda, that is an open market whereby you can take advantage of that. So that is also something that we really need to understand and get to know, that that is a good opportunity for us to take advantage of. The other thing is that I've already mentioned this, but right now, the key thing that is happening is that we have a lot of tech hubs, incubators, basically people coming in to support the ecosystem, not necessarily as VCs, as venture capital, but just as ecosystem enablers. And also this is really helping in terms of making sure that we have the right people coming up because they help in three ways. One, help you in terms of building your skills. Two, help you get operators. Basically, this is talent that comes into the startup ecosystem, whereby they can be able to be employed into the startups that are existing right now, able to see how they can work better. And then also the third thing is that they're able to help you with networking, to know who is also working out there that you can be able to collaborate with. So these are the key things that are very important right now in terms of the trend and opportunities. Now, challenges that are facing the region, or challenges that are facing startups right now, I had mentioned already access to capital. So with access to capital, mentioned the VC winter, whereby it is almost like 60% of the VC funding that was coming into Africa in 2021 was cut down in 2022. So people had to really look out for other ways to survive in terms of how startups could be able to operate, because you see, funding had become a lifeline of startups. So people had to look inwardly, whereby they can be able to now generate their own revenue through selling to be able to survive, because a lot of startups were closed because of lack of funding at that time. The other challenge we have currently is also to do with infrastructure. There's infrastructure deficit in different countries. We have things to do with electricity. We have challenges to do with just basic roadmap to help with logistics, and also we have challenges to do with just the gadgets themselves to work with. So those are things that really are challenging startups right now. But the good thing about being a founder and being in the startup ecosystem, the most important thing is that we are supposed to adapt and be able to come up with key ways of being able to survive and being able to create new options for people, which is a good thing. The other thing that is a challenge right now is regulatory barriers, especially when you have gotten to your product market fit and now you've captured your local market where you are founded, and you want to move into other markets, so basically other countries. So let's say a startup in Nigeria wanting to move to Kenya, wanting to move to Ghana, wanting to move to South Africa. There are several regulatory barriers that are really challenging with that. And also I'll mention how later on how WorkPay, like I've said, I'm an expansion advisor at WorkPay, how we can be able to help you in terms of doing the same. But that is a big challenge right now. There's also a challenge with talent acquisition, which is really key, because if you don't have a right team to work with, if you don't have the right people to support you, to support your idea, to come in and give you the right advice, give you the right feedback, it becomes a challenge for you to be able to move forward, because at the end of the day, they say it's you are who you are with. So basically, your team matters. So it's very important to have the right people in terms of the talent that you are acquiring, the people you're working with, and the people that you're pushing your product out here. It's a big challenge, because you really need to make sure that when you're hiring the right people. And hiring the right people is not easy. It's a test, something you need to test over time to be able to perfect. It's not something you can just come out and be able to work with. So there's a big challenge in terms of what we are having to face as startups. The other thing is market fragmentation. So there are very many factors that affect market in terms of the fragmentation. So there's the instability of the currency, there's just instability of the market itself, there's political instability, and so many other factors that affect the ecosystem in Africa to be able to make sure that we are facing these challenges. But like we said, again, startups in Africa are resilient. We are able to adapt to these challenges. The other thing is to do with access to networks and support service. This has been a challenge for a while, but like I've also mentioned, right now we have a lot of ecosystem builders that are coming in, so tech hubs and incubators that are really building. And I'd like to shout out to just Echo, you guys, Echo Innovators, for being able to have this, because this is one of the ways of being able to build startups, basically because they are able to access knowledge, they're able to access networks, they're able to access new ways of doing things. And you never know, you might even get an idea here of how to build your own startup. So those are things that we're able to do. But those are the challenges that startups face. Let me go to my next slide. So I'll talk about factors that maybe affect how you're able to scale. And I'd like to jump into one regarding market research and validation. So every startup that has an idea, anybody who wants to be a founder that wants to go out there and has an idea in his head, the most important thing or the key thing to do is to, one, do a research on your idea and also try to validate it. So you go about this in several ways. The market research is key because at the end of the day, you need to make sure that you're putting your effort, you're putting your resources, you're putting your money in an idea that will work. Because remember, there's time, energy, and resources are being put into this. So if you're putting your resources and into something that maybe won't last, it will be very bad for you in terms of just being able to succeed. It's key that you make sure you have done your research well, and this research will be able to help you in your decision making, in also trying to know how to approach the market, and also trying to understand if this is something for you. So how is market research done? Market research is done in two ways. There's secondary market research and primary market research. Primary market research is where you deal directly with the consumer or some potential consumer of your product. So you can do this through interviews, you can do this through questionnaires, you can do this through interaction with potential clients to get to see what is there, what challenges they are facing, and is what you have really a solution. It's quite important that you get to understand this, and collecting data and analyzing that data is what encompasses basically what market research is. So you collect this information, you're able to analyze it and be able to see if you can make a decision based on the same information. Now, this will help you in one, deciding on where to put your resources, two, in deciding on whether the market is the right market for you, and three, deciding whether you should invest or not invest. That is very important. The second part of the same is now market validation. Market validation is now whereby your idea is validated, it's a potential idea. So once you've done your market research, you've come up with data, you start experimenting with different ideas to come up and provide a product. So from idea stage, product stage, where you get a product market fit, we have a whole process that you have to go through, whereby you have to bounce up ideas, you have to try and solve problems and see if this is something that really the market needs. Basically, does this solve people's problems? Do they really need this, or this is just a hobby for you? So that is where validation comes in. Basically, somebody is willing to pay for what you're providing as a solution to their problem, and also they're willing to come back, or they're willing even to tell other people about it. And basically, the other thing is that you are able to get money from your idea. So basically, the market is validating you. This will lead you to a next stage called now you being able to get a most viable product. Most viable product is basically a stage of where you have a product that people are paying for, but it's still iterating. Now, that will lead you to the next stage, which is now called a product market fit. Product market fit is whereby now you have a product. It can also be a service, but we use the term product market fit. So basically, you have something in place whereby the market has accepted, they are willing to pay for it, and you can repeat it. You can repeat it again. So you have one in place sales process whereby you know how to approach the market, how to pitch what you have, and people are willing to pay for it. And you can continuously add people who are able to pay for it. So that's when you get to the product market fit. Product market fit is key because this is what now will lead to the next stage of whereby you are able to scale. So it's very important you have a community in place. I usually advise in community in place whereby people are able to use your product and be able to give you feedback, be able to iterate the same so that you get a product market fit. Now, when you mention product market fit, sometimes people usually assume now that you've gotten your product market fit, nothing else is going to change. But product market fit is a process whereby the idea you have or the service you have or the product you're selling can iterate depending on how the market wants it. Basically, it's something that you keep on pivoting as you move forward because one, you'll get something that they want right now, but they'll want additional things to be tweaked into your service or be tweaked into your product. So it's key. It's very important that you are able to add these ideas, to add these requests that your clients have, because at the end of the day, customer is king, and it's key to be able to get their feedback from them. Now, once you have product market fit, sorry, it's very easy for you now to be able to scale. Now, once you, it's advisable, first of all, to deal with your local market. In this scenario, I'm talking about the market of where you are founding your company. So basically, maybe Nigeria, me here in Kenya. So make sure I conquer my country, I conquer my market first before I scale to other places. Now, coming up with a scalable business model is something really important because at the end of the day, scaling will either determine whether the company will grow or the company will die. Scaling is a very tricky process whereby you're bringing in new teams, you're bringing in new people. into the company, and you have to have a model in place that really helps you in terms of how you're going to go. Now, at Rommel Ventures, we help in terms of helping you to come up with something that can be able to scale you, basically a model. So depending on the service you have, or depending on the product you have, and depending on the market you want to go to, it's very important for you to understand what you need to put in place. What team members are important? So is it sales that is more important? Is it the development team that is more important? Or is it the customer success team that is more important? Because at the end of the day, it depends with the service or the product that you're selling out there. And it also depends with how many people are required to be able to make sure that the system is running or the product is produced in time, so that you can be able to make sure your clients are happy. It's very important for you to put a structure in place that can be scalable. Basically, you have an idea, you have a structure in place, you have a system in place that you've implemented in one place, and you can move that to another country and be able also to be implemented in that country. And being able to scale also is very tricky. Now, let me just step back and also talk about what I've mentioned earlier, whereby at WorkPay, we're able to help you when it comes to you being able to scale. So basically what we do is that we have a service that is called Employer of Record Service. This basically is a service that helps you when you're looking to move into a new country and you don't want to register your entity in that country. The most important way of moving into a new country is for you to be able to jump into a new country, first test the waters to see if this market is really a good market for you. And there's nothing bad as putting all your resources into doing that. That is quite tricky, and it might be challenging for you to do. So it might end up being frustrating. So what you do is that you test the waters. And the best way to test the waters is to use the minimum resources you can. And what they provide, the service provide is that you can be able to register, you can be able to set up your team using the entity of WorkPay in that new market for a certain period of time. As you experiment with the market and making sure that this market is for you, now you can register your entity and set up everything else. That is just something else that we do. The other thing that is important now is access to funding and investment. This is key. Remember, you've gotten your market, your product market fit. You are now scaling, and in scaling, you're building new teams. That means you're paying a lot of people. There's a lot of need for you to have funding right now because you're putting structures in place that means money. Building a whole team, that means money. So funding is very important. And right now we have two types of funding that we have currently happening in the African ecosystem. We have local VC companies that are providing funding. We have international companies that are coming into the African market to provide funding. And then we have startups that are self-funding themselves. Basically, they churn in the revenue that I've gotten to use it, so organically they're able to grow. So depending on how you are moving, it's quite easy for you to decide which one you're going to go with, the path you're going to go with. But most people are looking for external funding. And basically this means now you have to start networking. There are several networking events. There are several ecosystems that provide VCs you are able to go, you have to go to them to pitch your ideas. This means two things. One, you need to have a pitch deck in place and you need to understand how to pitch. It's very important to be able to know how to express yourself. It's different to sell your idea to your client, to your customer, and to sell the same idea to a VC. It is not the same thing because the VC looks at very different things compared to when you're selling this to your client or a potential customer. So it's very important to understand what they are looking for. These investors or these venture capitalists, it's very important to understand what are the nuances that they look at, and also how should your deck look like, because sometimes you find that you'll have a deck that is too worded, you'll have a deck that is talking about the wrong things, you have a deck that is colorful but is not really giving out the point. It's very important to understand what really matters, because you'll find that you might be able to pitch to somebody in 1 minute and they buy your idea. You might have 1 hour with somebody you're pitching, but at the end of the day, you're not successful. So it's very important for somebody going out there and wanting to scale to understand how to do that, because at the end of the day, if you're going to go out and scale, it's very important for you to know how you solicit or how you get funding. So it's very important for you to craft a good pitch deck, and also to be able to craft a good pitch yourself, to be able to know how to express yourself. It's very important for that. So you can do some training on your own. You can do some research on the same, on what is supposed to be done. You can look into your own ecosystem, look into your own networks, people can be able to help you with that. That is key. The other thing that we also mentioned previously that was a challenge is also talent acquisition and talent development. This is key, especially when you're scaling, because of several things. One, people are what make a company. A company cannot run on its own. It needs people. So you need to have the right people who understand the vision, people who understand the dream, who are bought into the dream and who are willing to sell that dream out there. People who understand they represent the company, and out there when they are talking to anybody about the company, about the service or the products you're offering, it's very important for them to be the ones that are championing this. So getting that type of talent, it's quite peculiar. It's not easy to run across or to come across, but it's very important for you to have such talent because it is what will propel you to the next stage. Now, you need to have a system in place of where you just don't go out there and look for talent, because sometimes it's hard to look for talent, but internally you're able to build your own people, hence the talent development, whereby people can come into your company, people can come into your startup, and over time they get to grow. Basically, you make sure you have some training in place, and also you're open, making sure that you can empower your own people. It's very important that startups are open to helping people because there are a lot of mistakes that we need to make, and they need to learn. So you cannot have an environment of where you don't want people to make mistakes and you want them to grow. It's quite challenging. So it's very important you're able to control the mistakes, but also you're giving them a chance for them to grow. Because at the end of the day, it is through that making of mistakes where people learn easily and quickly. And there's a statement that I usually like from a book I read called Falling Forward, whereby, yes, you're making mistakes, but you're moving forward as you make those mistakes. That really helps in terms of the talent development in the startup ecosystem. And it's key that you're able to do this, develop your own talent as much as you can be able to acquire talent. Because at the end of the day, you need to also work on both ways to have a balance whereby if I'm coming into your company, I look into that company and look at, okay, so and so came into this company. He's been here for 2-3 years. What has changed in his life? Is he still at the same position? Does he have the same skills he had when he came here? As also the salary itself also matters. Has the salary increased or something like that? Those are things that will make you attract new talent at the end of the day. So it's quite important for you to focus on that because this will help you in terms of your scaling. The other thing now that is important is partnerships and collaborations. About partnerships, right now, I think it's the game changer that we are having out here when it comes to being able to scale. Because remember, the other way of scaling is you going into a market. But if you have partnerships, it's the easiest way for you to be able to jump into a new market. Because one, you deal with a partner that is already in that market, knows what works in that market, and already has clients in that market, and also has a big network in that market. So you can take advantage of that and leverage on that. So basically how this happens is that there are several ways of coming up with partnerships. I'll just mention a few. You have partnerships of where you want somebody to be a reseller of your own product or your own service in a new market. So you come up with a structure of how that works. You can have a partnership of where your service is complementary to the service that your partner is having in the same market. So you can be able to come and unite and maybe now provide a comprehensive package for the same. There are also partnerships of where you just collaborate on events, also collaborate on activities. So maybe webinars, maybe collaborate on creating an event or collaborating on things with the community, maybe having an event that everybody else in the community can be able to come in and collaborate with you in terms of maybe, let's say like just empowering maybe the disabled in the community. That is something you can work on. So partnerships are key because they give you access, like I've mentioned, to new markets that are already market. This is not just you speculating on a market. This is a market that already exists. So it's key for you to be able to work with partnerships. And right now, it's the lowest hanging fruit you can have in terms of scaling once you have a product market fit and you're looking into a new market. So you can partner with companies that exist. You can partner with individuals that are looking also to push a product or are looking to be able to work with you. Also in collaboration, I think it works the same way, whereby you're able to collaborate in different things with other companies, with other individuals who are like-minded as you. Now, the other thing maybe now I'll jump into is how to drive expansion or driving of expansion. Market expansion strategies, I can talk about a few that I've just mentioned already. This is to do with one, being able to have partnerships in place to help you in terms of if you're able to collaborate with other people. So this means that when you go into a new market, you quickly look for people who are willing to be able to come in and complement your service or work with your service in the same market. So this means that now you are leveraging something that is easy for you to move forward with. So that makes sure that basically one, you're not learning from zero. You're learning from somewhere where you can take advantage of the knowledge that already exists, people who are in that market and can be able to move you forward. The second thing is now internationalization. Internationalization is where now you are no longer just dealing with your local market. You're no longer in Nigeria, you're no longer in Kenya, you're no longer in Ghana. You are now multinational. Basically, you've moved to several countries and you're working there. Like I've said, there are several ways, several approaches to do this. You can decide to go the old school way, whereby you move into a new country, set up your entity, and then do everything yourself. You can decide to move in as a partner, with a partner, sorry, whereby you're able to collaborate in new markets, providing a service they don't provide, basically complementing their service. You can decide to go the other way that I've mentioned of employer of record, whereby you just set up your team in that new market without you having an entity there. So basically taking advantage of another company that is providing that service to be able to complement it. Now, the other thing is we can be able to leverage on technology and innovation. And this is key because right now, that is something that is working for Africa. It is the biggest thing Africa has right now in terms of if you're trying to move forward as a company and if you're trying to maybe scale quickly. Because at the end of the day, if you're innovative, that means you're solving a lot of problems. And that means it's quite easy for you to be able to onboard people. I'll give you a case example is there's a fintech company in Kenya called M-Pesa. And basically, M-Pesa, what it does is that it helps people to transfer money from your mobile phone to another person's mobile phone. And when it started initially, people never took it seriously. But right now, it is giving banks run for their money because the amount of money that they are transacting in a month is more than what banks are transacting in a month. All banks combined in Kenya. So that is really a big thing. And this is because they are solving a problem, basically innovating to solve a certain problem because they targeted the people who are not banked in Kenya. Initially, when like 10 years ago, 15 years ago in Kenya, you had to have a certain amount of money for you to be bankable. So that means a large chunk of people in Kenya were not bankable, but they had money. So that money, you had to look for another way of how to handle your money. So M-Pesa came in and solved that problem of dealing with these people. And that has changed really things until the banks themselves now have reached a place of where they can bank anybody. They don't have standards of where you must be earning a certain amount of money to be bankable. So that is to do with innovation. Now, regulatory and legal considerations are also important, especially when you are trying to scale, because at the end of the day, you might move into a new market, and you don't know what the regulations are in that market. That means that will be bad for business for you because one, you'll reach somewhere whereby the government will come in and give you and charge you penalties for maybe not operating in the right way, not maybe understanding the labor laws of that country, and that may be hectic for you. Again, just mention Workpay because they also help you with that because they have a system in place of where they're able to advise you when you're moving to a new market, how to be able to work your way around this. So they'll advise you how to hire people, what types of structures are there, what types of taxes you're supposed to pay. And in case there's anything in terms of regulations, they tell you this is the right way to go about things, or this is not possible to be done. So it's very important when you're moving to a new market to look at the regulatory and the legal considerations in that market so that you don't end up spending a lot of resources into a new market and then you are constrained in terms of being able to operate. Now it means you have to pull back and you've lost all your resources, all your time that you've put there. So that is very important. The other thing I wanted to mention is to do with the cultural and social dynamics. We're in Africa. We're in different countries have different cultures. There are several religions in Africa. It's very important to be able to observe cultural norms of different countries, different environments, different religions, just respect everything so that it doesn't become a problem when you're doing business. Because at the end of the day, yes, we are doing business, you're here for profit, but it's very important to be able to also respect the operations of each country and how everybody is operating their country. Because at the end of the day, if you don't abide by their culture, by their norms, you'll have problem operating there, and your business will have challenges. So that is very important. Let me jump to my next slide. So I have several case studies mentioned. There is Jumia. That is a case study of a company that really scaled well. This is a company, again, founded in Nigeria, and it was considered, still is considered the Amazon of Africa, and how they were able to scale into different countries and be able to just come into a new country and be able to provide the services of where you're able to purchase stuff online was really something amazing, something that was never seen before. So their strategies were very important in terms of how they were able to understand each market, how they're able to understand the regulatories in each market, and then came in and set up and be able to operate, because the dynamics of Nigeria coming to set up in Kenya, going to set up in Nigeria, in Uganda are quite different. The regulatory requirements of each country are quite different. So for them to be able to just study that and move in and be able to set up and be able to operate and then become a big player in all those countries that they went into is quite something big. And I think they're a company to be studied. I know right now they might be having some challenges, but what they did at that time was very important. And I think it's one of the companies that if you're looking to scale, you should go down and maybe research on them and look at how they did it. The other company I'd like to talk about is Flutterwave. So Flutterwave is currently the company that is out there that you're saying is the unicorn of Africa. And they really are the best setters for how to operate a startup in Africa because of how they've been able to scale, what they're currently doing, and how big they've become, and their impact in the society, because they're not just no longer doing business, they're doing more than that. They're training people, they're empowering people. So Flutterwave are really doing big things, and I really respect what they've done so far, so good. And with them, I think they're beyond the sky now. They usually say the sky is the limit, but they have passed that. They're just going because gravity is no longer there. So they're really big in terms of what they're doing. So if you're looking to scale, it's another company that I'll recommend for you to go and look at. They have challenges. I'll mention one challenge they had in Kenya. They had a challenge with our central bank of Kenya. But right now, I think that issue has been addressed because of how they came in and how they set up. That's what I was mentioning earlier. It's very important for you to understand the regulatory of the market you're going into. It's key for you to understand that, because in the Kenyan market, there was over 20 million that was held because of how they came in, and this is their money. So imagine a small startup and people hold your money like 20 million. You know, at the end of the day, I was looking at it. If it is a small startup, your operations are grounded. You can no longer operate. But thank God for them, they're a bigger company, they're able to operate. But I think that was a learning lesson for them. The other one that maybe we can look into is Andela. They're also a marketplace, and they're able to connect African software developers. Basically, it's like a talent market whereby you can be able to source developers to be able to work for you. And that really help in two ways. One, increase the number of talented people who are developers in Africa, so maybe to empower them. And then two, to be able to provide jobs for these people. So one, developers are going out there learning more about how to be able to code and all that. And secondly, they know there's market there once they plug into Adela. So that is something that is game changing that they have done. Another startup I'll mention is Twiga Foods, which is an African, sorry, a Kenyan startup. It's in agritech, and basically they help connect farmers with the market. Basically, we all know about the challenges of what farmers face. This is to do with middlemen who are coming in to overprice what is being there. You find that you are the farmer, but the middleman is getting more money than you. And this is something that Twiga Foods has really helped. They have a platform whereby you can put in your produce, and basically people can come in and plug in and see what you're producing and come to you to take your products. Because most farmers maybe don't have a setup of where they do the production, they get the products from the farm and transport it to the market. In between, there usually a lot of middlemen. So what they have done is that they've cut off all those middlemen to make sure that now everything can flow well for the farmer, where the farmer can be able to access the the consumer at the end of the whole pipeline, and provide for them a good service. So basically meaning their pricing is good, and also there are not a lot of people to deal with. So they've also really revolutionized how things are. So these are case studies that you can look at. There are several others that you can be able to look at, but it's very important to be able to understand people who have done it and how they've done it well, for you to also come in and try to implement. Because at the end of the day, there's no need of you starting from scratch if there are people who have done something and you can borrow one or two things from them. So it's quite important for you to be able to. Now, I'd just like to open the floor for questions. So I don't know if there is any questions. So far, so good. I know I've talked a lot. Please.
No, I mean that was quite insightful. Thank you very much, Melvin, for sharing that very concise and deep insights about what it takes for you to unlock potential, the pitfalls. The case studies were quite insightful, and yes, quite 5 very successful companies, I must say. And again, different sectors. It speaks about the potential that exists in Africa, from talent tech to e-commerce to agri-tech to fintech with Flutterwave. It shows that you can leverage and scale across Africa. And I think you've done tremendous justice to this. And we'll look at the questions. So what I see is one question says, what are the potential risks and pitfalls that startups should be aware of pursuing rapid expansion in African markets? I know you have mentioned a bit on this, but maybe somebody just wants you to shed some light. So they're looking at African market, which I think, again, in the next 5 to 10 years will be one of the most important markets globally. And what this person is saying is, if I want to expand in what are the risks for rapidly expanding and pursuing a rapid expansion? What are the risks and pitfalls? Maybe you want to speak to that.
Yeah, so the first risk is the rapidness of expansion. Because if you're doing things fast, at the end of the day, it's a risk in its own way. But the other important thing that you need to understand is that as long as you want to expand rapidly, it's very important to understand the market you're going into. So just make sure you've done enough research into the market you're going into. So like I've mentioned, the basic things you're supposed to do. You can do it online, you can do a research online, but it's very important also you do primary research of the market you're going into. The second thing that you're supposed to do is to make sure you understand the legal part of things. So there are labor laws, how to hire in that country, regulatory standards in operation in that country. You might have ways that you want to do something in that country that maybe is legal. So how do you transfer money to a country? Because different countries have different ways of how you're supposed to transfer money. So you need to understand how that is supposed to be done. So there are several things you need to look into when you're doing that. Thirdly, you need to look into, okay, when you're expanding, the talent, how is the structure of the talent? Are you taking the team that you have currently right now, going to the new market to build there, or are you going to build from scratch in that new market? So it's very important to understand the processes you're doing. So basically, I'll say market research is key. Regulations, government operations is very important. Then thirdly, the talent you're going to use. So are you using your people that you have currently right now to expand to that new market? Are you going to build the new market with new people? So those are the 3 key important things I think you need to look into.
Great. Thank you very much for that insightful one. I mean, thank you so much. I have also another question here. I mean, from another platform. It says, please, what are roles of media tech in all of this conversation around expansion? I think this person wants you to speak around visibility you have into media tech. What are the roles and what are the possibilities, or what prospects do you see for media tech in expansion in Africa?
I think that's amazing. That's a very great question. And I think it's something I'd skip. So media plays a big role in the startup environment, in the startup ecosystem, because one, how will people know about you? It's through media. So media tech is playing a big role, and it's key. It's just that nobody has really privileged whereby we can say this is the go-to when it's to do with media in the African ecosystem. So I'll challenge him. That is one thing that if you're looking into the media tech niche, there's nobody who's standard who we can say this is the one that we got in the African ecosystem. So, but the media plays a big role because media is all about informing and also just cautioning. So it's very important for you to be able to get the right information. And where do you get your information? So media tech plays that role, educating the environment, educating the clients, educating the companies, educating the talent, educating even you yourself as you go out there what to do. So it plays a very major role because at the end of the day, it's to do with information, and this information is key for you to make decisions.
Wow, thank you. Thank you. That's, I think that's quite insightful, and thanks for doing justice to that. Again, another one, how do startups in Africa navigate talent acquisition and retention challenges when scaling? Because again, like you mentioned, it's one of the things you need to think about. Talent is the bedrock, is the very core of startups, but much more than startups is also the expansion conversation. So how do you think people should be able to navigate that acquisition retention challenge, especially in a time like this where we're having pressure from global people with the remote work and the gig economy? What do you think? What strategies do you have?
Exactly. Now, there's also something else I'll mention. There's also the big players who come in and steal your talent. So you develop your talent down here, and then other big companies, let's say like Google, like Microsoft, they come in and take the talent that you develop. So I'll give it two ways. There's the internal factors, then there's external factors. So internally, you can be able to manage your talent by making sure you develop talent well, whereby if people come to you, you're able to educate them, and there's a growth for them to be able to have in terms of in your own ecosystem, whereby when they come in, they can be able to learn new things, they can be able to develop new ways of doing things and grow. And there are bigger roles they can come into and grow as they come in your company. This is key because at the end of the day, this will be people who will be loyal to you because they started with you, they have grown with you, they see the vision, they see where we are going. So that is a type of talent that you can easily manage. Now, externally, there's talent that you're going to acquire. So basically, you're hiring new people and maybe in the new market and all that. So that will depend on several things. One, the company culture. How is your culture? Do these people feel that this culture really relates well with them? Two, how is your package? So the package means here, what are you offering them? So it's not just the money itself. The other incentives you can have, like I've mentioned, maybe they can be able to learn. So maybe like a company itself, you have a system of where you have a platform of where people can go and learn new things and be able to grow. That is one. So two, what else can you offer them? So is there a life work balance system that you have for them to have? And then three, do they feel like a family? Are you a community? Because in some companies, you are just alone. And in some companies, you feel like you are a community, you are a family, you really relate well with people. So it depends with also the company culture. It's very important when it comes to talent acquisition. The last thing I'll say is that the package has to be good when you're doing talent acquisition. So basically, your remuneration to these people, how does it look like?
Great, great. Thank you very much, Melvin. I mean, that's quite insightful, quite insightful. Thank you for that. Again, we've got 5 minutes to go. I'll see if I can take one more question. How can startups effectively localize their products or services to cater to unique needs and preferences of African consumers? How can startups effectively localize their products or services to cater to the unique needs and preferences of African consumers? I mean, we can take that as the last question.
I think that's a very beautiful question because at the end of the day, you find that foreigners come to Africa and they come up with one big assumption. They think Africa is one country. And they really, especially companies that I've worked with a company before that came into Africa and they were assuming they'll just do the same thing for each country and it will work. But they were really, they got a bitter lesson of where they realized that each country is very different, very peculiar in terms of how they operate when you move from one country to another. One, regarding regulations, two, regarding their culture. So these are very key important things that you need to look into when you're looking into scaling. So when you're doing that yourself as a company, it's very important for you to now put these intricacies in place. So what works in Nigeria doesn't necessarily mean it will work in Kenya. You need to look into it and look at, okay, my product is packaged for the Nigerian market because of 1 to 3 things. Now, when I come to the Kenyan market, what really matters to the Kenyan market? What really will trigger Kenyan consumers because they are different? They have a different culture, probably even the language itself is different. What they prefer is different. So you need to look into those intricacies of what really does work in Kenya. Look at the companies that have worked in Kenya. Look at the successful companies that have worked in Kenya. What has made them work in Kenya? And then you can use that. So basically, when you're going into a new market, the most important thing is to study the companies that have worked in that in that market and have been successful. Look at what they did right. And then also look at the companies that came in and failed. Look at what they did wrong, what made them fail, because at the end of the day, it's also very important for you to avoid such mistakes when you're going into a new market. Once you've done that, now it's very important for you to understand when you're going into a new market, by the time you're coming in, let's say like we're in April right now, by December, you might find that you've repackaged the whole way you're serving your market because of what you're learning. So it's very important when you're going to a new market to look at feedback. What feedback are you getting from the clients? What feedback are you getting from the potential clients? What feedback are you getting from the consumers? And also from your people. What are they telling you? What should you work on? So that you're able to iterate or pivot the service or the product according to the market. Because at the end of the day, you don't dictate to the market dictates to you. And if you don't listen to the market, at the end of the day, you'll go out of business. So it's very, very important you do that. The other thing that I keep on insisting and I keep on telling people is do your market research. It's key.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Do your market research, and it's what a wonderful way to end it. Do your market research, do the work, do the work. You don't work on gut feeling, it's not on assumptions, do the work. There's no way to scale without doing the work. There's no way. There's no shortcut about this journey. And to this, as to draw the curtains, I need to say a big thank you to Melvin Malanga. And I'm sure he's demonstrated tremendous knowledge and expertise about what it takes startups to scale, looking at a pan-African outlook, and that very great one. Thank you so much for your time. We're indeed very grateful for you investing this time to share with your knowledge and expertise with our ecosystem, and this is not taken for granted. And ladies and gentlemen, it's an opportunity to say thank you again for being a part of Techbiz. Techbiz comes from the stable of Eco Innovation Center, located at Fita Awolowo Road. Is an innovation center that focuses on both incubation and acceleration services for startups and organizations that need to scale their businesses. And what we provide basically are hand-holding support structures that allow people to scale. We've got, for this recording and every other recording, this is the 109th episode of Techbiz. You'll find it on our website, www.eco-center/webinar. You will find it there. And if you have questions, clarifications, something you need to that's not clear about, and you find the slides and all that online, please do join our community, Techbiz Nation. Feel free to join Techbiz Nation. Is a link. You'll find myself and so many other subject matter experts there where we can offer you support beyond just the 1 hour of Techbiz. And it's a pleasure to have you be a part of this, and I look forward to hosting you again final Thursday, last Thursday of the month of May. Before then, a few things you need to look at. Eco Innovation Center promotes what we call Eco Institute of Technology. That's our EdTech arm that speaks to technical expertise for people in the tech ecosystem. It's our way of contributing towards filling the pipeline with talents for companies to be able to scale. So should you want to pick up any skill, any expertise from, coding, product management, data science, hardware stuff, fixing POS laptop, please go to, and I'll show my colleagues to drop the link, go to EIT, that's Eco Institute of Technology side, and make sure you do register for any of their upcoming courses. It promises to be life transforming. Also, we have quickly coming an activity promoted strongly by Eco Innovation Center in collaboration with other partners is the Marketing and Technology Conversation Series, which is MACAC 3.0. It's Marketing and Technology Conversation Series with an evening of hackathons and people presenting innovative concepts and ideas they have in the world of marketing, media, and technology. That intersection is where we are having, and that event comes up on the 7th of July in Oriental. But before then, you want to be a participant, you want to register to attend the conference, you want to do an exhibition, you want to do a product, or you have a product that you would like to unveil, because again, our crowd of 750 people are top eggheads in both marketing and the world of technology, especially it's that intersection we're talking about. Make it a day to register, go to the site. My colleagues are dropping the link to the website or to the site for MACAC, and do make sure you register to learn more for MACAC, and it promises to be an exciting and insightful one. Thank you again for keeping a date with us, and it's a pleasure. I mean, I always wish we could stay longer, but 1 hour has a way of always running, especially when we're looking for the weekend, and this always precedes the weekend. So I need to say thank you to the team at Eco Innovation Center that keeps faith with us, bringing this to us in our doorsteps day and every time and time again. Bola Tito and the team who does this every Thursday. Thank you so much for keeping this together for the last 109 episodes. I remain your host for everyone who has been a part of this. Thank you. I remain your host of Techbiz. My name is Victor Benga-Falabi, the founder of Eco Innovation Center. I look forward to seeing you the last Thursday of May. Keep a day with us as we bring another subject matter expert to come and share from their wealth of experience, insights, nuggets that will help you on your journey of growing your startup and scaling your business. Thank you and have a great weekend ahead.